Hello and welcome back to ThoughtBot's AI in Focus. Your looks are your eyes are not deceiving you. I am here with my co-host of the Giant Robots Smashing into Other Giant Robots podcast, Sami Birnbaum.
It's such a pleasure to be joining you. It's strange to be doing this kind of without headphones and the big microphones that we normally do our podcast with. But thank you for having me on your stream and giving me a platform to further improve my own personal branding.
That's really my goal. It was funny. Sami was like, "Why do I look so small next to you?" And we're discovering that I have a taller torso than.
Yeah, I feel like Chad worked on this setup before I got here, and I've been shortchanged.
I could bend down here.
Yeah, that's nicer for me. If anyone's listened to our podcast, and I've spoken about my L-shaped desk, which makes me feel powerful. I definitely don't feel in this dynamic as I'm so short on the chair.
Yeah. If you don't know what podcast we're talking about, you can check it out at podcast.thoughtbot.com. It's the Giant Robots Smashing into Other Giant Robots podcast, where we explore the design, development, and business of great products.
Yeah, we have some amazing conversations on there. I think if you listen to our previous podcast, you'll find out how a mother spider is consumed by its spiderlings, and other great fun animal facts.
Okay, we're coming to you live from London in the UK. We are going to pick up where we left off last time on AI in Focus. Jimmy and I were embedding an MCP server into our Rails app, and we were going to hook it up to OpenAI and be able to use ChatGPT and have that reach out to our Rails app and answer questions and do work in our Rails app. If you watch that, you know that we really struggled at a certain point. We successfully used a Ruby gem to spin up an MCP server. And then when we went to connect it to OpenAI, it just wasn't connecting correctly.
Okay.
And like all live coding exercises, we just couldn't figure out on the stream because we're trying to keep on going and and then we got off, and I was just like, I took another look and got it working right away.
So you actually got it working end to end after you took that look?
Well, no, because once we solved the typo that we had, which I knew it was something like a typo, Yeah. Once I solved the typo that we had, then it still wasn't working. And I was like, why is it still not working? And then I found something we had missed on the repo of that gem. There's an open issue, and it says the server isn't currently responding with all of the metadata that OpenAI has not only standard MCP support in their research module, but you can go into your integrations and add an MCP server.
Okay.
And there, which is what we were trying to do, there's a bug. It's not responding with all of the metadata needed for those. And so we were doomed from the start.
Okay.
Where it just was not going to work with OpenAI yet. They're going to fix that bug. Yeah.
Okay.
So it supports other MCP clients. So I fired up our cursor editor here. So that's cursor on the screen that you can see there. And currently the server is not running, but we have it enabled in cursor. And so you can hook up MCP servers to cursor, and then you can use the cursor AI agent chat with Claude or with ChatGPT and whatever, and it will use the MCP servers that you have hooked up to it.
Okay.
So let's go over the config and what we were struggling with in terms of last time, the config and getting that to work.
And just on a high level, what are you actually exposing to the MCP server?
Yeah, great question, because we spent, it's important when you're doing this to understand what you're doing, because as a developer, you might have MCP. You've done a great stream on MCP servers.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because
Yes.
I wasn't going to mention it. I really wasn't going to say anything about it, but now that you brought it up, it's definitely worth checking out on our YouTube channel. I give a really simple explanation of the model context protocol, which I really think breaks it down for developers especially who think about requests and responses, exactly what's going on behind the scenes. And I think if you watch that, you'll find it's a lot more simple than you realize. But as you were, carry on.
Yeah, so as a developer, you might use an MCP server at two different levels. One is in your Rails app locally, there's a Rails gem to use in development mode, so that you can empower your editor to use an MCP server to assist with your development.
Okay.
So it knows, instead of having to, so Jorge, good question. We're answering that. Let's put it up on the screen. So in development mode, you might use an MCP server so that it can get the models or controllers or whatever without having to just grep on disk and search your files and that kind of thing.
Okay.
It might say it exposes the way to easily look up where a method is defined.
Okay, so it exposes the code base.
It exposes the code base, and you run that in development mode.
Interesting.
What we're doing is all the way up intended to run in production. It's a Rails app with an MCP server in it, and you would do this on your product so that users of your product could connect their chat or their LLMs to your product.
Yeah.
So you can do things like, if you had a ticketing product, like a project management system, you could have your users be able to connect your project management system and then say, who's assigned to this ticket? And it would be able to use the MCP server, or you can even say, create a ticket that does this, or create a ticket that does these 5 things.
Yeah.
And it can use your project management system from the chatbot.
Yeah.
So what are we building an MCP server for? That's what we're doing. We are integrating it into the scheduling and communication system that we have at Thoughtbot, with the end goal of, once this is connected, we'll be able to say, what am I working on next week? Or what is Sami working on next week? Or we have this project, who's the people who could work on it? Those kinds of things.
So we've got existing endpoints in our hub application, which is our internal application, where it's for scheduling or projects or something. Are those currently exposed as API endpoints?
Some of them are, most of them aren't.
Right, because mostly we're just using them internally via the UI of that application.
Right.
Okay.
So the second part of Jorge's question, of why use Ruby instead of Docker, I hope that starts to answer it, because what we're doing is embedding an MCP server in Ruby in our Rails app so that we can use our models and everything directly. The alternative, and I think maybe this is where Jorge is saying Docker would come in. There is an alternative, which is you spin up a separate MCP server that talks to your app via APIs and exposes MCP endpoints. But then that server can't use your Rails app directly. It can't use the models directly. It can't use existing stuff. It can only use endpoints that you already have. And if you don't have them, you have to write them.
So this MCP server in Ruby, you're saying it doesn't actually need to have endpoints?
What you do is it has it adds, so let's go over the setup. So it adds, when you add the gem, which is called fast MCP, to your app, and you run a script to initialize and set up the gem, it adds I'm in the wrong place here. It adds an app tools directory and gives you a DSL for defining the tools that are in your MCP endpoint.
Yeah.
And it adds an app resources directory where you define the MCP the resources that are available to your MCP server.
Okay.
So in this case, we're here able to say, I have, in this case, this is the generated code that it generates.
Okay.
I have a sample resource. You can name that what you want. The URI it's available at is examples/users. The resource it returns is users, description and MIME type. And then you are able to use your Rails models or that kind of thing directly in there and return them as JSON. This is generated code, so it's doing JSON.generate.
Okay.
We can use active model serializers. We could do all that good stuff like we would in a Rails app.
So what you're creating here is, so if I'm understanding correctly, is this sample resource almost defining an endpoint? Where's the endpoint? Where would the MCP hit our Rails server? Does it hit an endpoint?
So MCP in general defines the concept of resources and tools. Yeah. Resources are data, and tools are things that do things.
Okay.
So what we're defining here is the data available. One thing that's available is a list of all users.
Okay.
The tool that's available is to greet a user. So this is just an example that is generated from the gem. But what this does is it takes the ID of the user to greet and says, hello, hey, their name.
Okay.
So we have a resource of all user IDs, users and their names and their IDs and everything.
Okay.
So, and we have a tool which knows how to look up a user by ID and greet them.
Okay.
So we will, from our LLM or our chat agent, be able to say, greet Sami.
Okay.
And we'll be able to say, greet user 1.
Yeah. Okay.
And it has the smarts to be able to say, okay, they want to greet user 1. I'm going to get all users. I'm going to find user ID with user 1. I'm going to look up their name, and it's going to put together the resources with the tool and give a response.
Interesting.
So let's do that in action.
Okay.
In terms of that. So we go over to cursor. When you we need to start our server. So we're starting our Rails app now, which has the MCP gem in it and those 2 files. So we'll re-trigger that. So what that does when I enable this is it's going to hit our MCP endpoint in our locally running Rails app.
Right. Okay.
And do that call to find out what resources and tools are available in this application.
And do you define that endpoint, or that's baked into the gem?
That's baked into the gem.
So, okay, everyone will have this MCP SSE endpoint. Okay.
And SSE stands for server-side events. It's how that communication happens.
Okay.
So in theory, when I enable this, it's going to do some requests. Oh, that's unrelated to.
Okay.
There we go. So now it did the request. I think it did the request up here. This is some job stuff because it was trying to run a bunch of background jobs and failing, unrelated to what we're doing. So somewhere in here, we'll see the request to getting. But
and the response is essentially some JSON which says, here are your tools and here are your resources.
Yeah, exactly. And so we can see there's sample tool, and then there is the user's resources. You can actually click on this and see what it got. So there's basic caching built into this system as well.
Okay.
So now if we go over to our agent, so that's our agent, and we can say greet user 1. So we have a tool which says it knows how to greet users. I'm seeing the error over here, but so hopefully, and we'll say greet user 1. Now it should go and intuit or piece together that it can use that tool to greet users.
But behind the scenes, when you do greet user 1, I'm expecting the LLM to say, or to realize it cannot do this, but it has a tool available to it which will allow it to greet user 1.
Yes.
And what it does is it tells the client, the cursor client, that, hey, I need you to go and call this tool for me, like make this function call.
Yeah.
The client then would hit our Rails server.
Correct.
With that function called, and pass it user and pass it maybe number 1, and our Rails server will then respond
with the greeting,
which is in a JSON format, which the client then can understand.
Yeah.
And hand back to the LLM. Is that correct?
That's largely correct, except it got all the users to begin with already because it's a resource.
That's what's strange.
It reached out and got all of them already, and it's caching the result. You can actually tell it how long to cache it for and that kind of thing. So it's actually able to use that JSON data for those resources locally within the
and that's just a performance.
I think it's partly done for performance. Yeah, I think it's mostly done for performance.
But that's
so let's try this and see whether it works.
Get requests and stuff.
Yeah. So let's try this and see how it works. So we can see it's running sample tool with ID 1. It asked for permission the first time. ID 1 is Bill Gates.
So now they know he works for us.
Yes, Bill Gates works for Thoughtbot.
Oh, we're going to edit the stream. Oh, this is terrible. Yeah, okay.
So this is a pretty rudimentary example.
So we just got another question as well came in.
I
can't highlight it on this.
So it kind of does the endpoint check itself. So the client that's connecting to the MCP server, it's actually standard part of the MCP protocol to, like, when it connects, ask for the tools that are available.
That was that link the endpoint you showed me in the MCP/SSE.
So there is a config file. If we go over to our editor, our code editor, there's a config file for MCP. It's in an initializer. And so this is where the endpoints for the MCP server are mounted in your Rails app. You can say you can individually register tools with the server and resources, or in this case, and this is their standard setup, it's just loading all things that descend from application tool and application resource. So it's setting up all the endpoints for your MCP server based on the tools and the resources.
So it's creating under the hood different endpoints.
It is, yeah.
But not that we can see. I mean, it's not like we don't define them in our routes.
No, we define them in Ruby, right. And then it sets them up on the MCP server. So this is a pretty rudimentary example where we're just giving all the users as JSON. We have a tool which can look up users by ID and greet them.
Okay. And is this where you got to last stream?
We didn't have that working. Like we couldn't greet our user. We were trying to do it from ChatGPT and running into the fact that this gem currently has
okay, but you had
ChatGPT.
This tool, this sample resource.
Yes, and we actually started so that we could, I think, put it together in our own head about how this would look. Is we started to make an application specific resource.
Okay.
And in doing that, we actually realized we're doing the wrong thing because we were trying to get someone's schedule and return it.
Okay.
And that's not really, I think it's a little bit of a gray area. Is that a resource or is it a tool?
Okay, well, remind me again, what's the difference between a resource and a tool?
A tool would be, in theory, something that does something.
Okay.
But this endpoint that we were creating currently returns the agenda for the week.
Okay.
Hard-coded. If we wanted to be able to look up the agenda or schedule for any week that the user types in, like next week, 2 weeks from now, that's really it's no longer just data, but it is a tool because we got to do lookups in our application.
Okay, so is resource then static data?
I think it is. Yeah. I think it's so. If we were just returning the static data for the whole, for the month or something like that, maybe we would do that as resources. But if you need to do dynamic, because again, all those resources are going to be sucked in when it first connects to the server. And it's not gonna. So it's really for like a bunch of data. Here's a bunch of context or stuff that you would use.
Right.
But if you want to then do things and you want to like make stuff happen, those are tools.
So let's just imagine I have an application which already has API endpoints. So let's say it's an aviation application and people can use it to book flights.
Yeah.
And all my logic sits in a current API endpoint, which is flight create, and it takes in dates or whatever else it needs to destination to book the flight. I don't want to rewrite all that logic. In theory, what I want is the LLM or the client that wraps the LLM to just hit that endpoint directly.
Right.
So in my head, the MCP is just a proxy server. I don't even necessarily touch my application at all. I just have a proxy that sits in between the LLM and the existing endpoint.
If you have all those endpoints that you want to use and they're all there and they all work the way that you expect, then yes, that would be what I think it was Jorge was saying about.
That's the Docker.
Where you're basically just creating a separate service that bridges MCP to the APIs that you have. We actually also looked, there's another gem for Rails that allows you to, you put the gem in and you are then able to say, expose this route, which is an API endpoint, to the MCP server. And so you can also embed the MCP server directly into your running Rails app and just basically this at the top of your API controller, you say, hey, this action, make that available on MCP as a tool.
Okay.
And then you need to provide additional stuff.
When I've thought about MCP and people getting their products ready to be able to be consumed via an LLM interface, that's what I assume people are doing. they're putting something which just sits in between, and then just keeping their like existing logic.
Yeah, I think if you already have API endpoints that do everything you
So
want to do.
this gem is more about you don't have those API endpoints,
Right.
but you want to just be. You're essentially build. You don't. This isn't really an MCP server in the sense it's a separate end component which sits between an existing application and the LLM. This is you are just building endpoints that return JSON.
Yeah.
Would that be a fair understanding?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So if you want to do things that aren't currently available in your API, or you don't have an API at all, this is how you would add MCP support to your Rails app.
Right, but building a resource, or resource, I'm not going to use that word, building an endpoint like this, whilst it exposes it to the LLM, if there was a third-party application that said, hey, I want to integrate with this, which is not an LLM, it would struggle to do so.
Right.
Unless it conformed to the model context protocol.
Yeah. Which isn't impossible.
No, definitely not.
There's nothing actually like super specific about LLMs and MCPs. In reality, Correct. It is actually just a bunch of defined.
Correct. That's all it is. They just decided, let's go with JSON.
Right. And knowing how to respond to certain things, like give me the request for all the tools and knowing how to respond.
Yeah.
It's actually a little bit like SOAP.
I know what you mean. I have used SOAP APIs. Not for a while. I really like SOAP APIs.
Oh, you have to leave.
Nah, I really like them. They were very informative to me. After working on crypto APIs, REST APIs for a long time, I'll go back to SOAP any day. Okay.
So let's. How I think we should do is this is the gist of what we want to do, but we actually want to make this a tool to be able to look up someone's schedule.
Yes.
And we already have an endpoint that gives all the usernames and their IDs. So this tool can, just like that greeting endpoint, take the ID of a user.
Yeah.
So, actually, that's a good point. Let's try that out.
So in theory,
what
we can use
is
the
the
name.
ID of
Let's do Billy.
Bill Gates? Of William Gates. That's the power of LLM there. Let's see if it gets it. So it's thinking, it's planning its next moves, checking available MCP for a way to look up user IDs. Okay. I don't have a tool to look up user IDs by name. The greeting tool only accepts an ID. From the previous greeting, when I called it with ID 1, the response was, hey, Bill Gates, which suggests user ID 1 corresponds to Bill Gates, William Gates. This is an inference, not a confirmed lookup.
Okay.
If you need to verify this or find other user IDs, you'll need a user lookup service or database that maps names to IDs.
But why can't it use, because if you showed me before the cached resource that it's got, why can't it use that to map the name to IDs? Like, wouldn't it fill its own context with?
I think it's using inference to do it.
As opposed to, what's the other option?
That there's a tool that that does that.
Okay.
But I think having confirmed that it can do that, I think that answers in my mind that we can make a tool that returns the schedule for a user by ID.
Yeah.
So if we go over to sample tool, this is the syntax for it. So you can do annotations that provide hints about the tool's behavior. So that might be part of the reason is we don't have any annotations, but the descriptions say for the arguments say what it is.
Okay.
So if we create a new tool, that's weird. What just happened?
I'm not sure.
and say, actually, we call these agendas.
Okay.
It's just the domain model.
That's fine. Yeah. Let's keep it consistent.
And so let's copy over the sample tool. So get a person's agenda for a specific week. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's not do that yet. So this is going to take an ID of the user to get the agenda for, and the week starts.
So those are mapping to columns you're aware of? No, so those are just arguments.
They're just arguments, okay. Yeah. And we figured out last time that there's not a date type, so we're going to have to take it as a string.
Okay.
And then parse it as a date.
While we set this up, it's worth asking, because a lot of the products that we work with as a consultancy, people do see these tools and they see things that are possible, and a lot of people gravitate towards what other people are doing often. How do you work out if this is a feature worth building? So imagine you're building a product, and you can open up all of your endpoints and all of your application to an LLM interface, so people can do all of these things. Let's talk about this one specifically. Do you see people actually querying an LLM to say, what's my agenda for the week? Or do you see people using their existing habits and saying, no, I go to Hub and I look at my schedule, or I have the email?
So there are two. First of all, I don't actually know the answer to that. Part of why I'm doing this isn't necessarily because I know that people will do that, but I want to understand the pieces and how they fit together. And that's like a concrete example that we then can be like, oh, I understand how to build that for the client app where it does make sense.
Right.
Specifically, this feature, the other thing to think about with MCP functionality is this isn't necessarily just for a user to use. Because once we have an LLM that has tools that talk to our Rails app, then if we just want to do things in our app or in a separate app, we can now do that. And we don't need to implement tool calling anymore.
Okay.
We instead connect it to the MCP server. So in other words, say we have messages in our system, and we want to be able to generate summaries of messages.
Okay.
Then you could have functions that run in background jobs and that kind of thing that are generating summaries of messages. That will become most useful if you need to actually combine multiple resources together to use with the tools that are available in your application.
Okay.
And it's actually programmatically using the MCP server.
That's okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. We've got some questions.
So actually that on the fly, Jorge, I wasn't coming up with a great example, but Jorge did. So imagine that what you want to do is you don't want to just look up your schedule. You have connected your calendar via MCP to OpenAI, to ChatGPT.
Okay.
And you've connected Hub, and you want to say to the LLM to be able to just say, schedule a meeting with Chad for the next time he's available, or schedule a project update meeting for the project that Sami's working on.
Okay. So
it would be able to say, what project is Sami working on? Oh, the name of that project is X.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to make a calendar event via MCP with the calendar, and I'm going to be able to populate the title of that event with what the project name that you're working on.
So that's kind of the flexibility that you get from an LLM calling the endpoints as opposed to a program calling the endpoints. Because if we write a program to call the endpoints, there's a limited amount of use cases we can combine, and it has to be done
right. And it enables,
yeah.
and you have to be a programmer to do it. Whereas in theory, this enables someone who's not a programmer to do prompts and things in using multiple integrated services to do work.
To hit those endpoints and have them carry out. Okay.
Okay, so the agenda tool. Oh, I see. We don't need to do beginning of week. And the reason why I know that is because that came up last time. We confirmed that this week model takes the beginning of whatever. We can go over there.
Okay.
It initializes it to whatever date you give the beginning of the week. So, and that's just an object we have in our Rails app.
Okay. So this call method is ultimately where we build the response.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is going to give the agenda for first person. So we want to.
Oh, yeah, use the ID.
Okay. So I think that is right. So we need to check. We set up some stuff on the schedule last time, but it's been 2 weeks. And so actually,
whilst you set that up, and I'm actually, I'm surprised by how it's already been abstracted into a gem, and there's already like a, would you call it a DSL?
Yeah.
That's available. Like, I feel like this is, but it's a testament to the Ruby community and how ready Rails is to be, working with these sort of new technologies. I'm surprised that the gem is abstracted so much that it makes it so easy to work with.
So that's 10. So I scheduled person 1. That's the person with ID 1. To this project.
Okay.
And I'm realizing we have the concept of users and we have people in Hub, and they're not the same thing. And we did a person lookup here. So I'm going to quickly
could we
change our sample resource to.
But even if we got a user ID, we could just do user ID .person in the agenda tool.
Say that again?
We could have just still used the user ID in the agenda tool and just found the person.
Yeah, so but they're not user ID. The IDs of users and people might be different.
Yeah, but a person is associated to a user.
Yes, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, but this is good. I want to see how this resource then works. Is it a person?
Now, let's do all of the people in the system. Okay. Okay, then if we go over just to double check that, I'm going to close that. The agenda tool, the ID is the person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember way back when you did a live stream about RAG?
Yeah.
Retrieval augmented generation?
Yes.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
Nailed it. I can't do the intros and outros of our podcast. Like, I'm doing quite well. And there you went and looked up stuff from like the handbook or internal documentation to be able to give the LLM context. You could now use resources to do that. If you have an MCP resource.
Yes. And it would return the JSON of the whole handbook. And then that would enable your client to do that.
Right. Is that how you understanding this? Would you do it this way?
No, I would actually do that as a tool because it's too big. It's too many resources. So we want to search based on how like something is.
So you'd have to create an endpoint for a search.
You'd do a search endpoint for the handbook to search for particular terms.
Right.
Yeah.
But essentially, if someone wanted to and it wasn't so big, they could use a resource to give the context that was required for an LLM.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just another use case, which is interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so now I changed the MCP server, so I think
cursor. Do you have to do something?
Yeah, I think I need to tell it to
You're on VSC.
Yes, I was like, what is going on?
I'm not sure. I don't know how quickly I should call you out. I'm not like, is there something I don't know? We do on VSC settings? Okay.
That's funny.
So, were you expecting it to pick up?
I was expecting it to pick up the different tool, yeah.
Okay.
Did I change it? And I was expecting it to pick up our person resource.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm wondering if that's like a cache thing. Like every time you turn it on and off, is it actually actively making a request to our Rails server to get the new information? Yeah, let's turn it on and off and try it.
And I realized that the reason why we weren't seeing it in the logs before is because that was just the server, not the development logs.
Okay.
So here we can see that requests happening now, and so it's pinging there to be able to get that information. So if we turn it off, it unregistered the client and successfully closed the I/O with the client.
Okay.
So I would suspect that if we turn this back on, we're going to get that. So you can see it did a request to get all the tools and resources, but.
So it is making a new request. You showed me before in the initializer on the Rails application, it registers tools and resources.
Mm-hmm.
Would that mean that you would have to restart your Rails server so the initializer picks them up?
Yes, that is what it means. Thank you.
Right. I mean, that's why they pay me big money. Do you know what I mean?
Does that mean like 50% of the time you can say, does that need just restart the Rails server?
Yeah, that's kind of what. Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we have a syntax error somewhere, which is very difficult to sort through, especially zoomed in on this.
Yeah,
screen.
People can't really get a visual of what we're doing here, but we're kind of sat in a studio room in London, which is heavily overpriced because London is saturated with people. And we're kind of in the corner of the room, and we've got a laptop up on a stand and then a separate monitor. So we're doing our best here.
Agenda tool. So the error was expected file sample resource to define constant sample resource. So we had changed that to person resource without renaming the file. Okay, so the app has successfully booted now. Go back to here, turn it off and turn it back on again.
Yeah. There we go.
So now we have the sample tool, which we didn't get rid of. We have our agenda tool, and we have the people.
Cool.
So
that's next week is interesting.
Yeah,
because it struggles with that. I've asked sometimes, give me things I can do that are on tomorrow, and it's not sure.
Okay, checking Bill Gates' agenda for next week using the agenda tool.
Cool.
2024, 12/16.
Yeah, it does struggle. I've never understood why there is not.
Yeah.
Like, why is there not an MCP server for it to get today's date and time?
Right.
That it can get it accurately. So it knows to get the date and time, I need to go to this tool. Can you give in your description of the tool, so for the agenda tool, can you say to it, I want you to confirm or prompt the user of the LLM for the date? Can you do that? So when someone would say, give me the agenda for next week, it says, the tool itself tells me I need to go and get a date from you before I use the tool.
So the way that I would think about solving that problem is I would make a new tool for looking up dates.
Right. Okay.
And then it would piece together the tool. It would figure out the right tool to use for looking up dates.
Which to me is like we shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel.
That seems like something that you shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. So I don't know what's happening now. It says it's still running the tool. My guess is that.
Can you? Yeah. What would be the response?
Yeah, my guess is that it had trouble with the response. I'm going to cancel it. A tool call was canceled. Trying a different date format. Okay, it's gonna. So I'm gonna escape.
If it does fail like that, how do you inspect errors? Because you can't see. You're not getting HTTP errors, are you?
In this case, I'm trying to figure out. In this case, we have this log here.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the people. Here's where it started up and sent the people. It doesn't look like it actually ever had the tool called here. And so let's just try again.
Okay. And there is an MCP tool for time. Let me check it.
Okay, so here we got an error.
Okay.
And it was invalid date. So this tool requires a valid date. Trying a specific date format for next week. So that's interesting because it got an error and the error was invalid date.
Yeah.
It was with a backtrace from the MCP server itself. So it read that, sees the error, and tries to fix it itself.
Okay.
So now what it did was the words next week before.
Aha, okay. And that wasn't a valid. Ooh.
Okay. So no specific meetings or agenda items are listed for that week. The schedule may be empty or the response format. Yeah. Oh, because it's the wrong week. It's December 23rd.
So the 29th is actually an accurate response.
Yes, it is. Right. Okay. So we need to fix that date parsing. Now I happen to know.
When you say the date parsing, you say if you just drop back to cursor.
Yeah.
You're saying the fact that it says week starts on 2024, 12, 23, and it came back with December 23rd, 29, 2024.
Yeah.
No, that's correct. Sorry, the date is not correct, but once it gets the accurate date,
yes,
then it works.
So
okay.
I think what we'll do is introduce a new tool.
So you do want to reinvent the wheel?
Yes, I want to reinvent the wheel.
Let's do that because that's what we're here for. We're here to entertain people. Your URI there is missing a P on line 4.
Thank you. Still worked though, I guess.
Yes. Get rid of it. Don't need it.
Okay. So we'll make a week tool. And actually what I want to do is I want to make this tool take any kinds of format. So we have a gem in this app called Chronic, which takes dates in words. It can do next week and give you that.
Okay.
It can take actual dates and it will parse them correctly. So it's basically natural language date parsing for
That's
Ruby.
Really cool.
So we have this in the gem in this app already. So we'll be able to create something nice.
I did not know this existed. This is brilliant.
So this is get a week in a natural. Wait.
What it's
convert a natural language date string to a week starting date.
Okay.
Actually, I wonder if we should say just date. So the date string to convert a natural language. Oh, I'm off the. Into the. window, move and resize.
Can you just go on to the next line in your editor?
Fill. There we go.
Okay.
Date into convert a natural language representation of a date into the ISO 8601.
I have a clue. Maybe. I think you're right. But that field in the arguments, should that be a string?
Yes, thank you.
And then once we're done with this, we've got a few questions we can look at. We hear you, Pedro and George.
Did we say we were going to have a week starting date? Yeah. I actually don't think we need to do a week. We don't need to return JSON here. ISO, yeah, it's not 2, it's just ISO. Okay, so let's get to the questions in the chat. Thanks. So the suggestion which George made is, wouldn't returning the date today at some point be good enough for the LLM to figure out then what you mean by next week? And I don't know the answer. I would have to try it to know. And Pedro sort of had a similar suggestion, which is like starting the interaction by greeting with the date to basically anchor the date for the
interesting. Can you just try that quickly? Can you say, hey, today is?
Yeah, sure. Today is November 6th.
You're in London. It's the day after Guy Fawkes night.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of fireworks last night.
Yeah, there will be.
Today is November 25th, 2025. The week of November 10th, 2025. It did it automatically.
So, I mean, to be fair, it's a good suggestion in the greeting. You could just stick into that if you wanted to, date.current in Ruby. And then if that does anchor the LLM, you saved yourself time with another function call.
Yeah.
It's a great suggestion and worth knowing.
Again, it's stalled out again here. There's enough pieces going on here that I don't know what's failing, where it's failing.
Yeah. Let's see.
It says it's calling tool, agenda tool with tool call ID. We can try stopping the server.
Surprised you didn't get our time tool. And you did that.
I didn't save it yet.
Oh. So what do you think it's hitting the tool? Or do you think it's hitting the Rails application?
I don't think it's hitting the tool because we would see it here.
Is it like middleware?
Yeah, that's a way to think about it, because it's basically running middleware.
What is this MCP request subpath / messages that keeps? Ooh.
Notification canceled. Reason MCP error.
Request timed out.
Request timed out.
Method not found.
Where do you see that? Method not found.
Notifications cancelled.
And here you can see, yeah, okay. Well, that's at least good that we have that happening, but it looks like it's still stalled here. Okay, let's
finish off our time.
Yeah.
Our time tool.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the week tool. Does that. It should automatically be picked up when we restart our server. So let's restart. And then if we go back to here, okay, so it found the week tool.
Nice.
What is the start date of, actually, let's make a new chat.
Yeah, nice.
What is the start date of next week? Cool, it's gonna run it with date next week.
Great. We might need to solve this issue.
So here we got the request body, tools call, name, week tool, arguments, date next week, sending result. So it worked.
Broadcast message to 0 SSE clients. Broadcasting message to 0 SSE clients. So does that mean... Is this a WebSocket connection? What's the...
I believe it actually is like WebSockets, yeah.
So then maybe there's... Well, it's not true. It's working for the response, but it's not working for the request. Is it worth killing cursor and just reopening, like getting a new WebSocket connection?
Sure, we can try. So I'm also noticing in the log here, there's a lot of this no stored tokens found, but it wasn't stopping us before. So you can have authentication on an MCP endpoint. We don't.
Okay, so then what, you're sending a token every time back and forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's kill cursor. Try again. Client error for command received response for an unknown message. So it tried to... So it... So now it tried to get the people resources,
Yeah.
and it failed. Proceed to respond for an unknown message ID. That's interesting.
What does it mean by message?
Okay, it just now it found 3 tools, 0 prompts, and 1 resource is Zod error. Wait, this is really annoying. Zod error, invalid union. I don't know what any of this means.
Neither do I. I'm guessing this is. I'm not guessing. I don't know.
So it got an error listing the resources. Okay, let's turn it back on. So that time it worked.
Yeah, I maybe it could be a local hosting. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's go back to Cursor and
Let's open a new chat and ask what the date is next week.
Well, we should be able to say what is person one's.
Yes.
Okay. So it's going to get the week start date for next week, then fetch person one's agenda.
Makes sense. Okay.
Got it. Okay, now it's going to run the agenda tool.
Calling tool. I don't expect it to take this long.
Right.
Especially
with the time it worked, it did it like right
really
away.
Quickly, yeah. But it did the week tool ran.
Yeah. Is it just me, or does it seem like it's able to respond once and then it fails?
Yeah, it responds. Yeah. What's all this noise? What's all this noise in the terminal? What is this? To me, this is like when you have a WebSocket connection. My understanding is you wait for an event to happen.
So this is sending a ping.
Why is it polling?
To the client. Yeah.
Oh, our backend is sending a ping to the client.
Yeah, that's what that says. Sending ping to client with that ID.
Why does it continuously ping the client?
It wants to know it's still there.
Okay. Fine. Okay. But again, that's something which is baked into this gem.
Yes.
That it's doing.
I assume so. So let's test my theory.
Mm-hmm. What's the gem called? I'm just going to check.
Fast MCP, but make sure you're looking at the Ruby one, not the Python one. Let's test my theory. I'm going to stop the server. I'm going to restart the server. I'm going to go over to Cursor. Stop this. I'm going to reopen the connection. See, now it failed to connect to the server again.
Okay. What do you think about trying it with Claude's chat app? Do you have Claude?
Okay, so I just disconnected twice.
Okay.
It failed twice, and then I did a third time, and it connected successfully a third time.
So just not quitting cursor, just doing the toggle on and off.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the feature then.
That's
what you have to do. That's how we sell it to end users.
So I'm going to try to do it where it just does the one tool call, and I want to see whether it works or not.
Okay.
So it's also possible that we have a problem with the agenda tool because, see, it's trying to run it again. It did the date correctly, and it's just not, it's hanging there.
Is it worth using Claude quickly to see if it's a client issue or our backend? Do you see what I'm saying?
Remember.
I'm isolating where the issue lives. Is it on the client side or the server side?
Yeah. So are you looking at the instructions for Claude?
Not at the moment. I'm looking at SSC transport is deprecated as an issue or open on the gem last week. No, why should I be looking at the instructions for Claude?
Because there's basically, it can work through Unix sockets running locally, or it can work over HTTP. And
okay,
I think if I remember right, Claude only works over Unix sockets with MCP servers.
Okay.
So that doesn't work for this.
What about if we used ngrok? Would that make a difference?
No, it's a Unix. I mean, I don't know how to hook that up.
Okay. Okay, so maybe that's not an option. Okay, do we now look at... So the only error messages we've got is something about Zod?
Well, that was... Who knows?
It sounds like... What was the name from Toy Story? Toy Story number 1? Of the bad thing. The villain?
Yeah.
Buzz Lightyear fight.
Right.
Zorg?
Zorg.
Maybe that's what it is.
And Zod is not the Superman villain.
Right.
Right? That was...
Zerg.
Zerg
it is. That's the error.
Okay, I want to try something. I want to cancel this. Okay. What is the start date of the week a month from now? Okay, so that tool works consistently. I think we might have a problem with our agenda tool.
Okay, let's try back into
let's try just again, what is the start date of the week next year?
I couldn't even answer that question. Oh, we'll do a year from today. So in a year from today, what's the stuff?
So we had one successful tool call, and the next one hung. To me, that means we have a problem on our MCP server.
So you would say that the client is not the issue?
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Who knows? That's okay. Well, but how do we pick this apart then? Where do we even start? Yeah.
What time? So if we go to Ruby Fast MCP,
it can't be 2 in a row where you don't get it working, and then as soon as the stream finishes, you work it out. It can't be.
Right.
Let's have a look.
Okay, so it was last updated 2 months ago. I was gonna say maybe a new version just came out. but it was on September 28th the last version came out. So that's not the. I was going to say we could upgrading the gem, but we already have the latest version.
Yeah, what are the instructions? Is there anything we can toggle or change?
Well, actually, let's look at cursor MCP. Okay, the options are MCP, URL to an SSE endpoint. That's fine. Cursor, transport methods, okay. Here's a remote server, URL. Okay, so you don't need to say what transport it uses.
Could you change it if you wanted to?
Well, you could, but the only one is the HTTP
right.
streaming.
Do you have in your config in the initializer allowed origins?
For the fast MCP?
Yeah.
So we have local host only is false. We have allowed origins localhost.
Right. Okay.
Authenticate false. So this config was working. Like from that perspective.
And we've seen it work.
Yeah. Okay, I turned off the server. Yeah, so it's connected to streamable HTTP server, fetching the offerings, and then it connected successfully.
But the agenda endpoint never works. Or we did.
Well, I think it's only not working because it's the second time. So it worked the first time. It was the first.
Yes, because it went and got the December 2024 date, and then it worked.
Right.
So it works the first time.
So if we make a new thing and we say, what is person 1 working on next?
Give it a date.
November 10th.
Oh, it's still doing our week tool.
Yeah. I skipped it.
Okay, let's see now.
So now it's going to just get it. It doesn't say what arguments it's going to use.
Yeah.
Did you just notice that too?
I did notice that.
Was it doing that before?
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't work with weak tool. Okay, let's run this. So it worked because we made it so that it didn't do two requests in a row.
I don't know.
Oh, look, the server just errored,
Okay, what's
and
it saying?
now it basically lost. It called the agenda tool, successfully called it, and then it said found 0 tools, 0 prompts, and 0 resources. And then this went to error here.
Yeah. So it makes a call, and then something goes wrong. And from the Rails server,
Yeah.
are there any errors? So where do we? Because we should see it send back the agenda at some point. Yeah, is that the agenda? Yeah, broadcasting the message.
This is schedule people.
Okay.
The person,
So
and then
what happens next?
we have week start date, week end date.
But if you scroll down below this,
mm-hmm.
What happens next? Sends ping
Sends
105.
And that's it.
It just keeps doing its thing.
Yeah.
What is a request timeout? There.
Notifications canceled. I believe that's when we canceled it on the client side. And so the client did a thing saying like, hey, this just got canceled. I can't access the date conversion tool right now and don't have the current date to determine next week. I need today's date. So it couldn't do it because the tool is essentially offline.
Mm.
It's too bad. This seems promising. Well, folks, we're doing this so that you don't have to. That's the way to think about it. We're figuring out all the ins and outs of this so that we can break new ground and have it work when you go to do it. It really seems to me like there's a problem. Like, if we look at our application tool, okay, so there's nothing in there. What were you going to say?
I was going to say about the when we register the tools, application tool descendants. Are they all inheriting application to application resource, or
yeah?
Okay.
The thing, it works that like intermittently.
Yeah. Go on.
And it really seems like it's that first one that works, and then after that, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Make me think it's an issue with the WebSockets. Like the connection is up,
right,
and they're connected to each other, and then they're not. Is there a way to use it without WebSockets?
So yeah, it can use like basically Unix sockets.
Oh, that's what you said before.
But
okay,
this gem doesn't support that.
Okay. How can we? Okay, I was trying to. How do we inspect the WebSocket? Yeah, go on.
Actually, I may have just misspoken. Choose from create a server and tools and resources with stdio.
Where would you specify that? Transport options.
So it's just not specified at all on the server config.
Okay.
But this is creating a server outside of Rails. Let's look at the initializer. I'm just going to do something drastic.
Put it all back to defaults.
I'm using a different keyboard than usual. That's why I keep on hitting the wrong key. So the reason why I don't like using the stdio is because then we can only do this on local. You can only do it locally.
Okay.
See, setting server transport to rack transport. You have to spell it right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. It didn't seem like it was doing anything different, and I don't see a config for.
Does it work from cursor?
Oh, with no.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the authenticate false.
Maybe this is our last throw of the dice.
So you get error posting to endpoint, message not allowed. It doesn't say what. It's going to be trying to do here, and we haven't specified what the
so we need to give it SSE at least.
Path is. Okay, well, this seems to me like it's a problem with the gem, which is too bad.
Yeah.
It's so close.
It's so close, but the building blocks are there, and the theory and the architecture makes sense.
And we even saw how, like, we want to be able to ask this kind of question. We need a tool to be able to do that. That was promising.
And it was really good to see how relatively straightforward it is. It's not.
Yeah.
In terms of what you're building, it's just obviously there's something going on here that is difficult to see.
Yeah, and we just we are doing this live. It's not like we've done the like this is an area that we wanted to explore. We're doing it live. We're finding out where the rough edges are. So we appreciate you coming along for this journey with us. If you get this working in your own app, or you have ideas about what we might have done wrong or missed, definitely get in touch. You can comment on the video.
Yeah, reach out, and it'll be great to hear from you. Until next time.
Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back next week. We probably won't work on this again.
We'll probably take a break.
See you later.